Hi, this is Jeff with CloudNC. I'm going to walk you through setting up a 3-axis job in CAM Assist for MasterCAM, and I'm going to be using the version 1.3 of CAM Assist for MasterCAM and going over some of the functionality and how to set things up. So I've got on screen here a version of a part in a vise, so I've merged that vise into my part. And I've actually merged 2 copies of it. So I've got it configured for op1 and op2. I don't need any soft draws for this since I have some flat sides and this is going to be made out of stainless steel. So I'm going to go through and set that up. But I need to first set up my op2 because I want to calculate op1 and op2 together. And I'm going to do that by creating a machine. So I'll go into the machine here. I'm just going to use the default. And then for my stock setup, I'm going to do the same thing that I had before on op1. I had the master model, so I'll pick that part. And then I don't have to set the stock because I actually did that for setup 1. And then for that machine group, I actually had used the bounding box, and then I just went in and picked the object itself. I added a little bit of extra material to account for some excess stock. And then I was happy with that, so I'm going to go back here, exit out of this one, leave that empty. But I am going to apply my fixtures. So I've got a copy of the fixture in op2 flipped over. So I'm going to pick the jaws here. I probably don't need to select the vise body itself in this case. So I'm going to go through and check those on. Okay, so I've got op1 and op2. And now I'm going to go into CAM Assist. So I've got the CloudNC CAM Assist here in the CloudNC ribbon. I'm going to click on that. First thing I'm going to do once I'm in CAM Assist is select my tool library. So I can select multiple tool libraries. I'm just going to pick one of them. So I'm going to go back to my default location. Users, public documents, MasterCAM 2025, mill, tools, and I'm going to use the CAM Assist inch library. There it is. So I've got that in my general view here. If I go to the tool use, I can look at the summary and quickly see that there are 262 tools available, and that for stainless steel, which is what I'm going to make this part out of, I don't have any materials available, so I'm going to be setting up using CAM Assist cutting parameters, and that's okay. And then for the stock alloy, I'm going to be going for 304 in this case. So the setting up the material and then the alloy, that's new to this version of CAM Assist. And then I've got the library defined, 3-axis part. Op1 is from the top, op2 is from the bottom. Just to confirm that, op1 is from the top, op2 is from the bottom. And then for op2, I might choose to use a smaller tool here for my maximum allowed tool. So I've just got that configured using the work holding security. And then double check that. I'm going to run all of the operations, and I'll just leave hole patching turned on for the few holes we have on the part. Okay, so we're ready to go, and I'm going to hit the run button here. And so as is typical with CAM Assist, we are taking all the information from those machine groups, and we're applying them with the part geometry and the tool library that we gave CAM Assist. And it's going to be comparing those features and geometry features that are in the part to the geometry and the dynamics of the tooling available and the material characteristics from that stainless steel alloy that we chose, and applying all of that to the toolpath through its artificial intelligence. And that's operating on the cloud. And then once all of the strategies have been defined by CAM Assist, it will then send mapped strategies, mapped toolpath operations back to MasterCAM directly. So that'll take a bit more time here to process over the cloud. I'll probably speed up the video at this point and join you again once that's finished. Okay, so now we can see that Cam Assist is now sending toolpaths back into MasterCam, and those are coming in. Looks like we're going to get 51 operations altogether. We're actually going to get more than 51 because in our roughing generation, we're going to be generating some stock models as part of the output. So we probably have about 60 or so operations altogether once they're all back into Cam Assist. Pardon me, back into MasterCam. So again, we'll skip ahead slightly. Okay. So we've got 51 operations, machining 202 of 219 surfaces. And then we have the option now in this version of Cam Assist to create those toolpath operations, to generate them in MasterCam, or to skip. So I'm going to hit no, so that I'll just have my dirty operations here in the queue. And then this gives me the ability to examine and interrogate the toolpaths without having to wait for them to be calculated 100%. So I can see things like those stainless steel parameters. Let's check out one of these flat roughing operations, for example. I come down to the cutting parameters. Let's see here that there's my stainless steel 304 showing up in the material and the parameters that I've got established. I might look at chip load, for instance. I'm about 3 thou there for chip load. It's probably decent, so I'll keep that. And then what I'll do at this point is I'm going to go through and generate those toolpaths so that we can examine the output of the MasterCam output and move forward from there. So I'll probably join you in it shortly here once that's all calculated. Okay, so I've processed all of the toolpaths now, generated them all. I'm going to close the multi-threader. And I can see, let's look up to our first roughing passes here in Op1. So we began with the stock, and then we went into first high-speed dynamic roughing, and then we generate a new stock model. And then we do our next OptiRest and a new stock model, and some more cleanup and a new stock model. And then we have our flat operations, doing the pocketing in there, mostly using 2D area mill. And then we have our wall operations to clean up those walls. And then we have our hole making operations. You can see that we're not doing any drilling in this case. We're doing all helical boring, it looks like. So here's a drill in the side here. And then deburring operations. So we get a nice clean part on that side. And then for Op2, we look at our roughing. Let's put it all together. Of course, we don't have a grade view, so let me flip over to this other predefined view on my view sheet. I can see that I've got my stock model from Op1. Basically, it's got my top hat defined there. And then I can look at the operations we're going to run. So we're going to run that first dynamic OptiRest, another water line, and some roughing on the side there. And then we have our stock model presented like that. Then we have our flat finishing, wall finishing, hole making operation to clean up those holes, the counterbores on the other side, and our freeform for the round over on the outside of the part, and then some deburring on that feature there and around those holes. That's it for now. So now that we've got our toolpaths and we've looked at them, we can also go in and verify the feeds and speeds. So for instance, we could go in and open the parameters in MasterCam and make any adjustments there that we might want to. For instance, on the depth or the linking parameters, we could check those variables. And then with the Cam Assist cutting parameters, we have that selection available as well. So if I wanted to come in and check this toolpath specifically here, number 18, I have my 304 stainless. And if I want to be maybe a little bit more conservative with those toolpaths, I could make those adjustments there and save that back. And that all went through on toolpath 18. So from here, I'm ready to send that out to my post processor and produce the part. So as we say goodbye with the simulation and the verification in MasterCAM, just let you know that the information for these operations will be in our documentation section, available through CAM Assist, and stay tuned for more videos on explaining how to use CAM Assist. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.